Another beautiful day on the Pittsburgh Combat Sports Podcast, Ryan. We got
Why are you
bellies.
so formal? Like, you're not normally this formal, bro.
What are you, dude? I'm wearing a collared shirt.
You
What,
you
like,
gave like you gave like an intro. You were like introing the start of the podcast.
this shirt literally has a collar. This shirt says, "This man knows how to give an intro."
Formality. Normally, you just like start recording and no one knows.
That was bad on the Kahim Murray podcast. I listened back to it, and it just starts like Upper Darby. Like the first thing you hear is like Darby, and you're
Yeah,
just like what?
you're the mid conversation starter, bro. And then today, all of a sudden, you're like, "We're here on a nice sunny day in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania."
Welcome to another Nightly News 9 coming at you from Ryan Middleton's basement, where he has me locked. What?
Venomous women love Ryan.
This is actually Ryan Middleton's basement for everybody out there. It's a nice little game room area. I actually like it a lot. You can see some UFC posters behind me. Got a some Cody Sable artwork on the other wall.
And
It's
another,
nice.
isn't there two Cody Sable artworks down there? Is there one above the lockers, the black and gold lockers?
Maybe, yeah. I can't see that from here, but let me see.
Okay.
Never mind. I would have to flip my computer around. But anyway, yeah, we're here for another edition of the podcast. We intended to do this live from Federal Galley down North Shore, but hey, Ryan, why aren't we doing that?
Dude, I keep screwing up, man. I had a dead battery on my laptop, so I was like, I'll just like plug my portable battery in, and that was also pretty close to dead. So then I was just like, I'll just plug it in, and there was literally nowhere to plug it in. So I blame everything but me, essentially.
Everything but you. Yeah, it was the charger's fault for sure.
It's first the charger, then the no plug, then it was just a combination of things that aren't my fault.
In fairness, I will say that Ryan has more chargers on him usually. Like if you need a cable and you're with Ryan, like he has that cable that you need. So
it doesn't matter what cable you need.
Yeah.
I have.
So I feel like that hurt you double today because like you're the cable guy and you didn't have what you needed. Like you weren't prepared for yourself.
That's kind of interesting. I've never been called the cable guy. Like that's a movie.
It is.
We were just talking in the car about favorite movies. Cable Guy is not one of them.
No, definitely not one of the favorites. But Ryan did say we found out for the first time that we're both fans of like the psychological thrillers with like a good twist ending, things like that. So if you guys got like a favorite psychological thriller, go ahead and throw that out there so we can either talk about it if we've seen it or add it to our list if we haven't. I think we landed on, I told you to watch Shutter Island. Like Shutter Island's the one that you got to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to see it. And 12 Monkeys is the one that you have to see.
Yep. So there's our homework. I got 12 Monkeys to watch and he's got Shutter Island.
I would say 12 Monkeys is more of like a time travel movie, but it's very, it's in that same general. Great movie. One of my favorites.
I mean, it sounds fun. Like I'm definitely not going to be mad about it by any means. But
can you hear that dinging when I get that? Do you hear that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good.
It's
like I'm getting these text messages and it's dinging really loud for me, and I'm like, is that dinging?
No, I can't hear it. It's probably in your headphones. Yeah. Is it connected to your phone? Yeah. Anyway, we were at Federal Galley for a hidden gem. We were at Troy Beck and Katie Perrick. I'm sorry if that's not how you say your last name, Katie, but their new place there in Federal Galley called Given to Fly. Fried chicken sandwiches all day. I've had them before. I've had their chicken before, and I've always told Ryan, like, dude, these chicken sandwiches are just stupid.
You're jumping way ahead, though. Like, you gotta, like, so you didn't, this place just opened Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
This place just opened in Federal Galley on Tuesday, but they've been literally running like this, like, I don't know, out of their house, like sandwich delivery shop with these chicken sandwiches, and they've just blown up. Like these are literally, a lot of things get a lot of hype. These are
Right.
the most ridiculous, amazing chicken sandwiches you're ever going to eat.
It's the one. It's the one, Ryan.
That's
right
it
here.
right there. That is the most amazing chicken sandwich that has ever existed.
Check out their caption. The Nobu will easily become your new favorite sandwich in 2022. And it did for you, didn't it?
And that 100% did. Like the best chickens. Like I love me some Chick-fil-A. Like I do. I think Chick-fil-A is amazing. This is like whole new level chicken sandwiches.
It really is. And they got tenders, which you can see some Nashville hot tendies right there. Tenders, salads, chicken sandwiches. One thing they have that I didn't see on the menu, which is actually pretty awesome, they partnered with Spack Brothers, the pizza shop in Pittsburgh, and they got Nashville hot seitan. Like you can get seitan, that chicken substitute for vegans, vegetarians. I don't know. I'm not into that life, so I don't know. I think it's vegan. It might be vegetarian. I don't know. But anyway, it's not chicken, but you can get seitan instead of chicken with any of their sauces.
Well,
Cool.
that's kind of a weird. Like I don't know anything about that. Like Kama's a vegetarian, so maybe he can, or he's a vegan, so maybe he can explain to us. But like, I don't like. Why would something be named so close to Satan?
I don't know. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly,
Oh,
but that's what
really?
it looks
How's
like.
it spelled?
Seitan.
Oh, okay.
That's seitan. That's got to be seitan,
Yeah.
right? Seitan. I have no idea. I'm not cultured.
You did a little like do that accent.
Seitan. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I have no idea what I'm talking about like 90% of the time. So this should surprise nobody.
like notice we're not like, no, it's okay. Like we're actually surprised. No, that's not happening.
No, like actually literally nobody's surprised.
Literally.
But should I play the video, Ryan, even though it scrunches it weird?
Yeah, like let's talk about like, okay, restream. Like, why will you not play a Square video? Like Square is very common. Instagram is all based on Square. So why would you not just like, why are you stretching it, bro?
It's weird. So this software we use for this podcast is called Restream, and you can upload a video to play on your stream, which is a really nice feature. But if it's not the right aspect ratio, like 1920 by 1080, like a nice full screen 16 by 9, like if you do a Square video, it tries to stretch that Square video out to fill the frame instead of just putting like black bars on the side or whatever. Anyway, Ryan this morning channeled his inner video editor and made this video for you guys for Brawl in the Berg 11 coming up April 16th. So enjoy the show and understand that this isn't how it's supposed to look.
Well, it doesn't look like this.
Yeah, get them tickets now. Sorry, I cut you off. I already pressed the button whenever you started talking.
That's all right. I'm used to it. I'm used to being cut off. It's all good.
But not to toot our own horn, Ryan, but not a bad card we put together there April 16th, man. Looking at those fights coming through got me excited again. That card's sick. I think sometimes you get so caught up in the weeds when you're in our position. We're going 100 miles an hour every day doing different things that you forget exactly what the event itself is going to look like fight-wise. So sometimes just looking at it like that and seeing the fights listed out like that again just kind of reinvigorates you.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, we're a week from weigh-ins. Like it's an exciting time. Like
crazy.
It's the final stretch, right? Like fight week starts officially Sunday morning when we wake up, and so we're super stoked. But you know, the matchmaking team has certainly assembled a winner here. It's kind of a unique card, like in the sense that you got a bunch of pro fights that are just like these great guys that are experienced and you know going to have some high level pro fights. And then on the flip side, the amateur fights are all like there's no advanced AMI fights. They're all novice AMI fights. And so you have the thing that I think is so cool is like these guys that decided to make their debut or that are fighting one two fights in, something like that, like they're a part of a really awesome pro card that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. Like, obviously, they're going to remember this experience anyway, but they're going to be able to say, like, I fought on the same card as Jake Schilling, as Justin Patton. I'm just talking about the Pittsburgh side of the card, as because that's the people they've watched and look up to, as Ethan Goss and his Kama Worthy, and that's just phenomenal. And the really cool thing is, yeah, the Academy is rolling deep. The really cool thing is that our first show was Kama Worthy as the main event and Ethan Goss as the co-main event, and we're back there. We have same situation, Kama as the main event and Ethan Goss as the co-main event. So that's exciting too, after we made our entrance into this 3 years ago, almost to the day, 3 years and 2 days ago. And we have those same guys competing and lighting up the crowd and making the Pittsburgh faithful happy.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, man. And Loch Ness here commenting the Academy rolling deep. They are rolling deep on this card, man. There's a lot of Academy guys on here. And the Academy has been one of the Pittsburgh gyms that's always been at the forefront of the MMA scene here, where throughout all back when it was Fight Club Pittsburgh or Jericho Martial Arts, it's always been like one of the elite. It's hard for me to say, which gym in Pittsburgh is the best or whatever, but it's certainly in that conversation and produces insanely high level fighters. And a lot of their guys have gone on to bigger, better things. And it's awesome to see a place like that just continues to breed them. Like, we all know Kama's going to represent the Academy, but you've got Justin Patton coming up too, spends a lot of time there. You got Schilling, spends a lot of time there. Paul Dotson on the undercard spends a lot of time there. We just had Craig Perry on the last card, and despite the way that fight went with his injury, he's still a guy that we think, and that everybody that talks about him thinks, that he's going to be something special in the future. So the Academy just continues to churn them out, man. It's awesome to see. And then obviously there's guys, Shaka Worthy, guys that aren't on this card or haven't been on the last few cards that still are that elite level of fighter out of there. So, I mean, the Academy, yeah, they're rolling deep, man. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Well, the interesting thing is, Justin, this is, how guys bounce around a lot and go to different gyms. Justin's officially fighting out of the Mat Factory for this fight, and he's spending a lot of time up there working on his grappling and still working a lot with Dave Sachs and Chris at the Academy, but officially calling for this fight, and who knows about the future, but officially calling that his home gym. So, Isaac's the guy that at the Mat Factory that everyone works with. If you're a Pittsburgh fighter and you probably have or will or have worked with Isaac if you're in this game for any length of time. He's, it's awesome. He's constantly pouring into guys and helping guys out, whether they're Mat Factory guys or, working with anyone else, going to another gym. So, but he's willing to invest in people, and that's a unique thing about the Pittsburgh MMA scene.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as I would, like I said, I have a hard time telling you what the best gym in Pittsburgh is. I don't think there's any doubt that the Mat Factory is the best wrestling-based gym in Pittsburgh. Like, if you want grappling and pure wrestling and grind, you're not gonna outgrind the Mat Factory, right? Like those guys do it different up there. It's funny because we were actually at the academy today. We just stopped in. Ryan and I stopped in to see Kama and just pop in for a second. But we joked about how hot it was inside there. Like Kama had the heat absolutely cranked inside there for their workout. And we joked how, it's still not as hot and stinky as the Mat Factory, though. Like the Mat Factory has a unique stench and aura. And when you step 1 foot into the Mat Factory, you're like, it's time to
Well,
grind. Like
it's a
yeah.
traditional wrestling room, like a traditional wrestling room. That is what it smells and feels like and looks like, and that is 100% the Mat Factory. Like it's a wrestling room that breeds toughness and badassery.
Yeah. And Justin, it's not like there's hard feelings with him in the academy or anything like that at all. But I think it's a smart career decision for him because I think, the way he lost his pro debut very quickly, he got submitted very quickly. I think that opened his eyes up to, I got to make a change in my game. I need to go improve my defensive grappling or offensive grappling so it doesn't need to turn into defensive grappling. And look, his second fight out, and he was still representing the academy, but he was working with the Mat Factory a lot ahead of that fight as well. Submitted Josh Armstrong with a Von Flue choke in, 2.5 minutes or however long it was. It wasn't long, first round. So I think he identified that as a whole in his game, or at least a part of his game that needs refinement, and made that improvement. And now he's got a tough test again on April 16th, man, with this Devin Loze. This guy, we talked to him on the podcast, and all the footage we've seen, everybody we've talked to, this kid's a killer, man. This is not a layup for Justin by any means. And I know Justin's one of those guys who's going to rise to every challenge. So this is instantly one of my fight of the night contenders, man. It's hard to pinpoint a fight of the night for me, but that one's way up there in my mind.
Well, Loze is that guy that like, stud amateur, undefeated amateur, came in, never faced defeat, and then made his pro debut and had a long layoff, and there's, different circle, and came out on, lost his pro debut. And so now he's starting off at 0-1. He's not used to having a losing record. He's not used to being in a position where he feels like, he has something to prove. He reeled off win after win after win as an amateur. So, I mean, he's coming in with plenty of confidence. Justin's coming in off of very confident. I remember, seeing Justin at the after the show, and he was excited to get that first pro win that monkey off your back. When you go into the pro ranks and you lose your first bout, like you're really anxious. You're really anxious to pick up that first win, and so he was a whole different attitude after that. Like he's so excited, and that's the position that Devin's in now. Is he has to get that monkey off of his back, and Justin knows that how he felt when he was in his position, so he has to defend his hometown. And there's a bunch of like what I love about this card is there's these four. I'm specifically talking about the pro fights. There's 4 guys that are coming into Pittsburgh to ruin the party. There's 4 guys that, you got Kahim Murray, you got Kevin Barberino, you got Loze and Eric Posen, and they're all like, these are all great bouts, and they're coming in and they're excited to showcase their skills, but they're excited to be the spoiler, to be like April 16th was a great night, but like, except for this, they want to be the guy that's the except for this. And so all these guys are game. I'm so fired up.
Dude, I mean, just think about it. This isn't, promoter speak. This isn't hyping the fight or anything. I'm saying just look at these 4 fights on the surface and what's happening. You've got Eric Pozoon versus Jake Schilling, and Eric is also lost his pro debut right? So this is his bounce back to get off the losing, get his first pro win. It's exactly what we just talked about with Lose. This guy with a really good amateur career drops that pro win just like Patton. There's a lot to unpack with that. And Schilling also coming off a loss. These are two guys that cannot afford to lose again. And that creates fireworks instantly. Lose, like we already mentioned, had this stud amateur career. Then he lost his pro debut and now needs to bounce back and get back on track. And then Kevin Barberina, that's a title fight, first of all. What more motivation do you need than to win the title against Ethan Goss? But also, he's 8-5. He's been doing the thing forever. His brother is UFC welterweight Brian Barberina, so he has connections into that world. He strongly feels that if he comes into Pittsburgh and wins the title, he's going to be getting a phone call from Bellator, from the UFC. And that is our, I talked to, spoiler alert, I talked to Kevin Barberina on the podcast this week. It's a pre-recorded one, so I already talked to him about this a little bit. But it's not like we have a direct pipeline to Dana White or Sean Shelby or anything like that. But we know, just based on our history of crowning champions, John DeJesus wins our pro belt, goes to Bellator. Kama Worthy wins our pro belt, goes to the UFC. So we know that their eyes are on us to a degree. I don't know that they're necessarily buying the pay-per-view and watching it live and like, okay, whoever wins is getting a phone call. But when they're doing their research and they're looking for guys to sign, we are clearly on their radar to some degree. And it does mean something to win our pro belt. So I think between Ethan Goss and Kevin Barberina, whoever wins that fight is probably getting a call. They're both guys that have been around. They're both on winning streaks coming into the fight. So adding, a piece of hardware to that, yeah, like they're probably the winner of that's probably getting a call. So Kevin Barberina, extremely motivated. And then Kahim Murray, pretty simple what lies ahead for him too. Coming off a win in Bellator, you beat a UFC vet and a Pittsburgh legend like Kama Worthy, you're 100%, on the radar too, to get that call up, to get right back to Bellator. So we'll see, man. Like you said, the out-of-towners, not only do they want to play spoiler and win, because every fighter who steps into the cage wants to win, but they have real legitimate opportunities in front of them.
Absolutely. I mean, every fight is intriguing here. Every fight has its own built-in storyline. Like, it's funny, we don't have to say, oh, how do we talk about this fight? Like, the fights speak for themselves. They all tell a story. And Kevin Barberina, coming from his brothers in the UFC, he literally just fought, what was it, 2 weekends ago?
Yeah, in Columbus. Fight
of the night in Columbus. Amazing fight. And that's the type of fights we have right here in our own backyard. I feel like when I look at this, I just feel like we're lucky. Like, we're lucky to have. I'm speaking on behalf of Pittsburgh MMA fans. Like, we're lucky to have a fight card like this. These are fights that could very well be happening on a bigger stage and a bigger scale in a different city. But instead, we're lucky because we have these fights happening right here in Monroeville, April 16th, 247fighting.com. Get your tickets now.
Nice. I like the broadcaster voice going on there.
Is that what that was?
That's
I just
sweet.
thought that was like an annoying voice.
Well, I mean, that's just your voice. No, that one was different. But I'll tell you what, guys, we intended to do this podcast and kind of break down the card fight by fight, but just the way this has gone, I'm calling an audible on the fly, Ryan. Here's what I want to talk about instead.
Go ahead, shoot.
We're mentioning it. We're talking about Pittsburgh being lucky to have a fight card like this. And I like the way you put that, but at the same time, it's not unprecedented for Pittsburgh to have good fight cards, and this isn't coming out of nowhere. We published this blog post earlier on the site. I talked about Mayhem MMA being involved and what that means for the Pittsburgh fight community and the growth of the Pittsburgh fight community. It wasn't that long ago in terms of time, but it feels like an eternity ago that fight cards like this were common, because full disclosure, this is what I love about the podcast, where we can talk about some of our private conversations. When we were talking about how we were going to sell this fight card, like how can we promote this fight card? We instantly thought, look at our pro card, like best pro card in Pittsburgh history, right? Obviously. But then I was like, well, take a look at some of those early Pinnacle cards. Dude, they were insane.
They
Like
were.
as soon as we actually looked at the early Pinnacle cards, we were like, there's no way we can feel good about ourselves saying best pro card, because it's not, like, flat out, it's not. I'm sorry. Like those early Pinnacle ones were like Cody Garbrandt, Adam Milstead, Kama Worthy, Mark Cherico, all on the same card. It was like all the stars of the day on those cards. But to Ryan's point about Pittsburgh being lucky is that I genuinely think this card, Brawl the Berg 11, is like a turning point of getting back to that level. Like it's been so long since we had a card even close to this one. So then we kind of thought about, okay, best card in how long? And it's been a while. It's been a long time since there's been a card in Pittsburgh that could compete with this one in terms of the quality of pro fights. And I think we're finally starting to see that again. You know, like I said, Mayhem MMA is coming up. They're mostly amateurs right now, but these are the kind of disruptors that you need to enter the space, to inject some new talent, to kind of reinvigorate some people who otherwise wouldn't be interested in MMA. So like Loch Ness said earlier, you know, the Academy, Roland Deed, the Academy's always been there. Matt Factory's always been there. You're going to have these staple gyms that continue to be there and continue to produce high-level talent. But now we're also getting some new kids on the block that are coming in to shake things up. And that's just exciting for everybody, man. And this pro card, I think, obviously we put in a lot of work to make this pro card happen, and it's a lot of our hard work, but we certainly can't take all the credit, man. This is Pittsburgh MMA coming back into its own, I think.
It's it's a maturation process, you know, and you know, it went through, you know, a bunch of guys that made it to the next level, and now like that crop is being reharvested and that soil's getting turned over, and now we're raising up a new crop. And who's going to be the next, who's going to be a part of that next wave of the stars that are littered throughout, you know, Pittsburgh MMA past and current Pittsburgh MMA stars that are in the UFC and that are in, you know, Bellator. You got guys like just you know, you got your Cody Garbrandt, your Josh Frem's making his UFC debut. You got John DeJesus. You got Kama, who was in the UFC. You got Dalton Rasta, who's an undefeated Pittsburgh superstar. You got Cody Law, who's an undefeated Pittsburgh superstar. You got all these guys that are. So who's the next group? Who is the next fighter? Which of these guys that are on this card are a part of that next wave? Is it Patton? Is it Schilling? Is it Loze? Is it Posen? Is it, you know, or is it one of the, are some of these amateurs going to work there? Like, there's tough roads ahead for these guys. Like, there's a lot of hard work between where they're at now and where they want to be. How many are going to, like, statistically, not many of them are going to make it, are going to get to where their goals are. Like, but who's going to stick through it? Who's going to keep the grind going? And we got, like, I'm excited. The other thing I'm excited about is we have, you know, we're welcoming Stout back onto our cards. You know, Stout MMA, Stout training facility. Like, they have multiple locations here in Pittsburgh, and they have 3 fighters, 3 amateurs that are raring to go on this card. And we're so happy to have, you know, welcome them back to the mix in 247, and we look forward to seeing what they put forth. Like, they've always done awesome work, and we're excited for them to be back in the mix.
Yeah, Stout's so good, man. Like you said, it's cool to have them back in the mix, have their fighters involved again, because you know the level of prep they're getting is incredible. You know, Mike Wilkins has been a guy that I've known about, and that's another guy who was on the early Pinnacle card when we looked at it, and we were like, "Geez, man! Like everybody was on this card."
Was Mike on it? Mike.
I think he was.
I thought he was
one of them.
I thought he was a Gladiators guy.
Maybe I'm mixing up my facts, but I did think Mike was on one of them. But that fact aside, or not fact, or lie, whatever it may be, having Stout involved is a very, very good thing. You know, you talk about Henzo Gracie and the affiliate gym here in Pittsburgh. They're going to produce big talent. They're going to have the best preparation possible. And that's kind of always the key is like whenever you get a Mat Factory guy or an academy guy on the card, if he's 0-0 or if it's his first fight with the academy, like we know they're not going to give us fighters to fight who aren't ready to fight. It's not a worry when they come from a gym like that. Like we know if Isaac at the Mat Factory tells us this guy's ready to go, then he's ready to go. You know, he's going to put on a good show. He's going to be in shape. He's going to make weight. He's going to be a professional. Like that's exactly what Stout brings to the table too. So even though they have 3 guys on this card that are debuting, we're not worried about any of them. They're going to come. They're going to be prepared. They're going to put on an awesome show. I'm positive about that. So, and I Googled it while we were talking, and he was on Pinnacle 1.
Oh, really? Mike was?
Yeah. Yeah.
That card is unbelievable. I mean, it just really is.
Dude. Yeah. Unbelievable. This is Paul Felder.
Mickey Morrow was the Pinnacle, founded Pinnacle. He used to own Pittsburgh Fight Club. He, I don't know how involved he is with Precision Sign and Awning. I'm not sure, but his wife owns it. But he's a great guy, really awesome dude, and launched that thing. And I mean, listen to this. Go ahead, rattle through some names.
Oh man, I just closed it because I didn't think we were going there, but let me pull it back up. It was Mark Jericho in the main event, first of all. That's for sure. 1 second, guys. Dun, dun, dun. All right. I'm just going to rattle some names, not necessarily matchups, but this is nuts. Mark Jericho, Cody Garbrandt, Adam Milstead, Mike Wilkins, Anthony Durnell, Justin Steve, Paul Felder versus Kama Worthy. Unbelievable. Dude, Chris Deep was on there too. I didn't even realize Chris Deep was on that card. I mean, so come from us, we have 4 really good pro fights and we're like best card. And we're like, let's look at that Pinnacle 1 card again. And we were immediately like, oh crap. No, we can't say that.
I mean, maybe we could, over time, like that's something you look back at.
True.
That the card then did not look as impressive then as it does now because those people have went on to do amazing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we could look back on this card, 6, 7, 8 years from now and say, wow, look what these guys ended up doing. Like, Tim Bailey was a debut amateur and look what he's done with his career,
mm-hmm.
That could be the case. That's something that will be told over time. But yeah, those guys, they have their I still say this pro card is top notch, right up there, man. It's awesome.
Oh, it's really fair, man. I mean, we, like I said, and we're not going to sit here and toot our horn this whole podcast, but it's tight, man. The pro card is awesome. And Richie Canalina, while we're talking about, Pittsburgh legends, you can't forget Richie. He dabbled in the MMA game for a very long time before shifting to pro boxing. And now his latest adventure, Richie just went down to New Orleans to try out for Bare Knuckle FC. And he was one of 4 fighters selected to actually join Bare Knuckle's roster. So that's sick for Richie, man, and for all his students at the Sanctuary Boxing Club out there in New Kensington. Just Richie's been on that grind for a long, long time. This is another guy, like you were saying earlier, Ryan, a lot of these guys are going to debut, and then that'll be their last fight. A lot of these guys won't be fighting in 3 years. Richie's one of those guys who committed from a very young age to he was going to be about this life. So he stuck with it, man, and now he got signed with Bare Knuckle, and I appreciate. Yeah,
the really interesting thing about Richie is he was an MMA guy, and then had successful MMA career, and then he's like, I want to do pro boxing, and then he rattled off an undefeated pro boxing career, and now he's like, what, this Bare Knuckle thing, that's a good combination of the two. Tries out for Bare Knuckle fighting championships and is signed a huge deal. Richie's always had that, that the look, the flair, like the shorts, the image, like he's got. So funny story. Richie and I are both involved in youth wrestling with the kids and whatnot. So we'll see each other from time to time. And I remember seeing Richie at I think it was a Cannon Mac tournament. No, it was South Fayette, I think. And we were at a South Fayette tournament, and it was like a tournament that had way too many participants, and it was a dreadful day. I don't know, Rich, if you're still listening, if you remember this. Um, but it was like this long day. Everyone was angry. Like it was done very poorly. We were not real happy about it. But one of my close friends, Matt Mellinger, who also helps out with 247, he met Rich that day, and he said to me, "Oh, yeah, I know it was 12 hours later, Rich." Um, he saw me talking to Rich. He's like, "Who was that guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's Rich Kennelly." He's like, "Dude, like those neck tattoo, like, dude, that dude. Oh my gosh, he's like, he's just like so." And I'm like, Rich is like the nicest guy you're ever gonna meet. Great guy, like invests in people, like heart of gold. But yeah, though he was like so intimidated by by the neck tattoos there. So that was my little funny story out of nowhere. Sorry.
No, it works, man, because Richie, it's funny, he reminds me too. He's one of those guys who has different gears. And like as long as he's not fighting, that gear is exactly what you're saying. Like nicest guy on earth, you can talk to him forever. But as soon as it's fight time, man, that gear shifts for Richie. That's when he is the guy that you don't want to meet, that you don't want to be around whenever he has to fight. He hits that different level when it's showtime. So we're extremely excited to see that bare knuckle career play out because it does seem like that's a fighting style that should suit Richie's strengths, I
Well, the
think.
thing I like the most about Richie too is he gets it. He gets the industry. He gets the like that. It's not like show your personality, whatever your personality is. Like, be willing to show your personality. Have fun with this. Be smiling. Be engaging. Be interesting. Have people care, even if people don't like you. That's better than them being indifferent, and that's a part of this game. Like, it's not only about like there's a bigger picture, and if you want to make it far in this, like show your personality, be who you are on cranked up the volume on that. But Richie
Yeah.
gets that, and like he wears the shorts that are cool and have all the dangly stuff all over it, and like he wears the cool outfits, and he's like the Ric Flair of Pittsburgh combat sports. He's got the look, he's got the skills, and that's the full
he's
package. He's the package.
he's not afraid to talk smack when it comes time. He'll let his opponent know exactly how he feels about him. But he's the perfect example on that, Ryan, because it's like you always say. I've heard you say this just in whatever normal conversation we have, is like the key for a fighter is not necessarily to just go out and be crazy and say crazy things. It's exactly what you were saying, is heighten who you really are. Like take who you are and then crank the volume on that. So it's authentically you, but it's just revved up to the max. And that's the thing about Richie is like you see him on fight night, and like you said, he's got that style, he's got the swag, he's a little more, glitz and glamour than your average fighter. But if you see Richie on an average day, the dude's got style. Like he's always wearing awesome vintage clothing. Like he's really into that vintage
You got
clothing game.
you two in your vintage
I'm telling
clothing. You
you,
guys should like just text each other your vintage clothing text messages.
we will. We will. You know what, Richie? Text me about a shirt right now. I'm looking for like a vintage purple Randy Moss Vikings jersey. If you come across a Randy Moss Vikings jersey, purple. It's got to be purple though. I want that.
You, oh, the Randy Moss. TJ
To go with
Timbo
my
in the house.
we in here, dude. TJ Timbo is the man. I love this guy. This is actually hilarious. That's not that hilarious. Sorry, I shouldn't have started it that way. But I set the bar way too high.
We're
But I met
already disappointed, and you haven't
yeah,
even said it yet.
yeah. I met him golfing at Butler's Golf Course in Elizabeth, PA. I was golfing with my wife, Nicole, and he was just golfing by himself. So he just joined up with us and we just played together, and he was just awesome. Like, we just hit it off. I'm like, I love this guy. And then it turns out he's a huge fight fan. He trained in the past. Like, he's huge into MMA. So it was like, we became Facebook friends because we thought we would, golf together a lot, because we both live in that Elizabeth area and thought we'd golf together. But now he's just constantly on all of our 247 stuff, because it turns out he's actually a huge fight fan too. So awesome to have you here, Timbo. And we got to get you out to an event, man. Like, you got to be there April 16th for sure, brother.
April 16th.
Meant to be buddies.
The big day, April 16th. Kama Worthy returns to Pittsburgh to face it. So let's talk about this fight a little bit, because I think there's a couple different storylines to this fight, right? You have Pittsburgh, Kama Worthy. He's from Pittsburgh. He's actually, I think he grew up in like Moon, not on the moon. Like, he's a little out there, but not that far out there. And he loves his like sci-fi. He's like a sci-fi like comic book.
He's a nerd.
He's such a nerd.
He's a nerd, but I definitely didn't say that to his face today.
No, I mean,
I feel safe now.
Correct. You're in your safe space. He doesn't watch us. But just to let everyone know, preview, okay, like, he might not watch us or whatever. Yeah, he does, but we will be doing a special live Sunday to kick off fight week podcast on Sunday evening. We're going to be on location. We will be on location in the South Side. And we will have Kama Worthy as our special guest. So, listen, I don't know if anyone knows Kama, or I'm sure many of you do, but when fight week rolls around, Kama's a little grumpy. We're going to put that to the test. We're going to see just how grumpy he is on Sunday night. He'll have his workouts in for Sunday. He'll he's already started like pulling off weight. He's not in a great mood. Let's see how irritable he can be on Sunday.
He's got some thoughts. We got a slight preview of it today at the gym. He was just saying, like, rattling some things off that he wanted to get off his chest. And it was like overwhelming to a degree. It's like, well, like, save it for the podcast, Kama. Like, he went 0 to 100 real fast. So I loved that.
Some of them were like, no, don't say that. Don't say that.
You can't say that. Yeah, you can't say that. He's like, no, I'm saying it.
So we will see.
It was great.
We hope he doesn't say some of the stuff.
I just want him to laugh once on the podcast, because anybody who hasn't experienced a Kama Worthy laugh needs to experience a Kama Worthy laugh. It's the best laugh on earth.
Yeah. Let's see you imitate it.
0% chance I'm going to try to imitate
Come
it.
on, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's got, like, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. But I didn't want to gloss over this comment from Richie either, because it was greatly appreciated, man. Like, the fact that you noticed it once again, like we were saying, how you get the business side of things, like you know what to look for. So Richie was just commenting on our production, and he said, you guys also have the production to go along with great matchups. A lot of promotions don't have that. They might have the talent and matchups, but don't have the lights, camera, and action like you guys. And as a fighter, that really adds to the experience. So he's right. And that's something, man, Ryan, from day one, for sure, when I jumped on board, I underestimated this a lot. Even though I've been to a 247 show before I was general manager, it's not something that I paid as much attention to as I do now, obviously. And our production, man, like, pretty proud, pretty proud about the way things do come together on fight night. It's one of the things we always say, for sponsors, for people who might want to work with us, for fighters and coaches, the best way we can convince you of anything is to come to one of our shows. Like, until you see it, you won't fully understand what we mean. So Mayhem MMA, that's a funny kind of transition. We were talking about them earlier. That's kind of how we got involved with them, was their coach, Sean Hartle, was kind of saying he was fringe interested. They fight for a couple other promotions here and there or whatever, but they were thinking about fighting for us. And Ryan was like, all right, I got you a table. Come down, bring your guys, just see what you think at BitB10, Kama's last fight in February. They came in February. That fight was February 5th. I would say February 6th at 9 a.m. we had a message from Sean Hartle like, I loved it. Our guys loved
We're
it.
in.
Sign us
Everyone
up.
wants
We're
on.
on the next card. Yep. And we got sponsors that way too, of guys who are interested in the show, and maybe they get a table to see what's up, and then they pull us aside at the show like, hey, this is insane. Like, sign us up. We want to be involved on the next one. So it's easy for us to say these things. It always sounds like promoter talk. I understand. We're selling tickets. I'm putting the banner on the screen. Buy your tickets now. I get all that. But like, when you come to a show, I do think you'll get it. Even my friends and family, I always say my mom hates MMA. Like, when I would watch UFC on TV, she would cover her eyes or leave the room. Like, she hates watching violence. But when she came live, she hasn't missed a show since then. Like, she loves the live experience of a 247 show. So it's just different, man. It really is. I think we do things the right way, and I'm excited to grow upon that into the future.
Well, and I've had people, people that come to, friends of mine. I started a company and a promotion, and they've, come to just support me. They have no interest in MMA, and then after the show, they're like, I had no idea I was gonna have this much fun. Like, this was awesome. Like, so yeah, it means a lot seeing what you say there, Rich, about how much effort we put into it. Like, I don't think people realize. I mean, I don't know. Would you say I'm obsessive with it, Hunter?
Is there a step beyond obsessive?
So, like, the details really matter to me, and how we are represented in our production, and the I always talk about, like, the end user experience, like the fan experience. Like, what are ways that we can enhance that? What are ways that we can make that better? Like, I'm constantly, like, looking at ways to. If you were at our last show, you saw that we have the big drop it, step and repeat, and like, we put the belt out and the red carpet, and you were able to take pictures and do all that stuff, and that's always stuff we're looking to make that experience better. Like, I've had people say, "Wow, oh, you're people that have never gone to our show say, oh, like those prices." Like, I've never had somebody that came to our show that was like, oh, like, this wasn't worth it. Like, that's never happened.
Mhm.
And someone might jokingly say that to me. Next show, like, someone who watches this is going to come up to me after the show and be like, oh, this wasn't worth it. But ultimately, like, it's more important for us to put on a good show than anything else. That everything else is secondary. Like, I'll spare no expense. I will to if I know it's going to enhance the experience, it's done. Period.
Mhm.
And so, well, that's, I think, what I don't know that some people, like, I think a lot of people take that for granted. And so when someone like Rich, who's been around the block, who's done so much, when he says and notices that, like, that means a lot. And so I do appreciate that. Um, I put a lot into it. I'm literally how many texts and calls, Hunter, do you as GM get from me per day? Just like, my head's always boom. Like, here's a thought, here's an idea, boom,
Mhm.
boom. I'm just constantly boom, because I want it to be as good as we can possibly make it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot, man. I mean, to answer that question, I don't know how many. At least 10 a day. But it's like we maybe think about it and put the wheels in motion, man, but we've also found the right people to execute. It's not us running the sound on fight night. It's not us controlling the lights on fight night. Not us in there ring announcing or anything like that, or commentating. We definitely found the right teams of people to work with that we can trust. Mike Moran and E2A handle our pay-per-view and all the live streaming and all that. They do a phenomenal job. Rob Thomas, RT Audio, I think he's amazing, man. He's such a good sound guy, and that's me. I was at Craft House for a concert recently, Craft House Bar and Grill. It's like outside West Mifflin a little bit. And I told the people at Craft House, they asked, how are you enjoying the show? All this. I was like, dude, this is the best live sound I've ever heard in my life. And I'm a concert junkie. Like, I'm always at concerts. I said, this is like the clearest, best live sound I've ever heard in my life. And they're like, yeah, we get a guy named Rob Thomas to do our sound. And I laughed, and he's like, no, not the Matchbox 20 guy. And I was like, no, I know exactly who you mean, because he does our sound too. So it was just funny. Like, Rob is a sound wizard, so we're lucky to have him, handle the audio for our show as well. It's just the whole team is phenomenal. It is a lot of Ryan's ideas for sure, but when it comes time to execute it, we got to trust everybody else on the team, and it's all credit to them.
Well, and that's the key, is putting all the right people in place to like, we have the team, like, ultimately, you and I were just talking about this today. Like, our team is phenomenal. Like, we have all the right people on all the right seats on the bus, and everyone's a part of the family, and it's awesome. So, but there's always ways that we're always looking to make it better. That's the thing, is
Yeah.
we're never satisfied. It's never good enough. Good enough is not in my
Mhm.
vocabulary. So, if it can be better, like, we'll do that then.
It's very true. And we were just talking about it today. It's very important to us, the culture of the company as well. It's not just that they're good at their job, but like, when's the last time we've talked to a production person, to a sound guy, to whoever, and they've grumbled like, well, yeah, I guess I'll be there. Like, we work with people who are excited about our product as well. And I think that definitely shows in the overall execution of it. Like, these are people who care about the product. Everybody who puts up the cage, man, like, it's a lot of family and friends. Like, that crew is incredible, and they care about the product just like we care about the product. And that's why I think it works so well. So it's a perfect storm of things going on. And like you said, we're always trying to expand it. So we might just have some, I won't say tricks up our sleeves, but we will have some expansions in the future that you guys will notice.
For sure. Well, we kind of got off track, but
Imagine that.
yeah, who'd have thought? I wanted to talk a little bit more about the main event. So we have Comma, we have Comma, who's from Pittsburgh, and I said Mid Township. I think that's where he's from.
I think you're right.
Kahim Murray is from Darby, which is actually
Darby.
Philadelphia, but Philadelphia people don't realize that, like, Darby's Philly. So we're just going to say Pittsburgh versus Philly. So we have Pittsburgh versus Philly. We have UFC vet versus Bellator vet. I mean, we have
Hometown. Yeah, I mean, it's everything that you want.
It's an awesome fight, and we have the guy that, like, who's been there, done that, versus the, like, legend killer who wants to, add Comma to his legend killer status.
Yeah, and not just those kind of storylines, but fighting style. It's a perfect, primarily Muay Thai versus primarily Muay Thai. Like, it's two guys that are going to want to knock each other out. But of course, we know in MMA that doesn't necessarily mean that. Could definitely turn into a grappling matchup, but at their core, that's what they do best. So it's strength versus strength as well. And they're both well rounded. Don't get me wrong. I mean, freaking, Kama submitted Luis Pena in the UFC. He's got some skills on the ground too, no doubt. But if you ask, what's Kama Worthy's strength, it's always going to be the stand up, and that's the same for Kahim Murray. So it's strength versus strength, UFC versus Bellator, Pittsburgh versus Philly. However you want to put it, man, that fight just freaking rules.
It has everything. It has everything you want in a main event, and expect fireworks 3 months early on
Nice.
on April 16th, just 8 days from now.
That's crazy.
I think the most overlooked fight on this card is the co-main event, the title fight, with Ethan Goss. Has he ever had a non-exciting fight? Has he
No.
As a matter of fact, are we running that today?
Not today, no. We're gonna do a every day of fight week. So starting Monday, we're gonna give you guys a free fight from the past every day. We're gonna stream it live for you guys on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, so you can watch some past fights of guys who will be competing on this. We'll have Ethan, we'll have Justin Patton, we'll have Kama, so maybe a few surprises sprinkled in there. But yeah, Ethan's last fight, I assume, is where you're going with that.
Yeah, I mean that if you've never seen an Ethan Goss fight, right? You're thinking about, hey, maybe I should go. Maybe I should get tickets to the Brawl on the Berg 11 card. I'm available on the 16th of April, but I don't know if is this like going to be fun? Is this going to be good? Watch Ethan Goss versus Skylar Sudo's fight, and
Mhm.
that'll show you what this is all about. It's special. It was a special fight. It was it was awesome. And the Undertaker was there.
That's true. He definitely choke slammed Sudo like the Undertaker.
I mean, especially
So
in those
ridiculous.
photos, it was like
Yeah.
the live did it look like a nice trip, but in those photos, man, it looked like an Undertaker's choke slam.
It really did. And I think what's easy to overlook a lot of times is that we get caught up on the local fighter because we know them better and we know more about them. That's just, human nature. We're going to talk about what we know. But when you dig into Kevin Barberina's fights, same deal as Ethan Goss. Never been in a boring fight at all. You think about Brian Barberina, if you're more familiar with him in the UFC, like you just said, was literally just in a fight of the night against Matt Brown. He's a super exciting fighter. Kevin, his younger brother, is exactly the same way. I mean, Kevin's fights are always exciting. So what really intrigues me the most about that fight is that both guys maybe have like their strengths, but I would call them both well-rounded. Like they're both just so good everywhere that literally no matter where this fight goes, it's going to be an amazing matchup. Like they're just going to meet fire with fire no matter where it goes. And that's incredibly exciting. So yeah, you're right. That is, for whatever reason, that is the overlooked fight on this card, I think, but it is also quite possibly the fight of the night. So
And then you have leading off the pro portion of the card is Jake Schilling and Eric Posen, and you say Pozoon. I don't know. You could
Pozoon.
be
I
right.
like that better.
I
Yeah, I don't know either.
I am Eric
We've
Pozoon.
we've we've established with me trying to pronounce Satan or however you say that I don't know how to say stuff. So Pozoon, Pozoon.
I'm a butcher too, so let's butcher together. Let's just make sure
Sweet.
we say it both ways, so one of us gets it. Well, maybe both of us get it wrong. But Jake Schilling, dude, Jake Schilling's a complete monster stud. It's been a little while since he's picked up a win, which is kind of why this fight I think is falling under the radar a bit. But Jake Schilling, you know, when you're a pro fighter and you have life like different stages of life and work challenges and all these things, so your ability to have consistency is sometimes difficult, right? With life taking over and job situations and whatnot. I'm so happy that Jake is back to being in the gym all the time and all that stuff, and really getting ready for this huge fight against Eric Posen at 155. And I mean, they both really are looking forward to picking up a win. This is the type of fight that like both fighters are like, this is a must win.
Mhm.
And
And that could very well be true. That's not just, how everybody says, "Oh, this is a must-win fight," but like that's very possible. It's you don't want to kick off your pro career early with a string of losses, and that's going to be the case for whichever guy whichever guy loses this fight is going to be on a pretty significant losing streak. So there's going to be a lot of fire in that one for because these guys just like literally simply can't lose. So my favorite Jake Schilling, like fun fact, not even fun fact, but just a weird observation, I guess, about him. He's 27 or 28 years old. He's been fighting for a decade. Like he made his amateur debut in 2012. He's one of those guys that when you think about, like we were talking about earlier, kind of the glory days of Pittsburgh MMA that are coming back, he was very much a part of that first wave, and he's still here and he's still young. So he's a guy that is quite possibly not even hit his prime yet, not just as a fighter, but just physically as a man. Like, we might see an entirely different Jake Schilling moving forward that just comes into his own and becomes this beast. I mean, he was like 7-2 or 8-2 as an amateur, something like that. Had a very successful amateur career, and just stumbled in his last two as a pro. So now he's going to either get back on track or he's going to stumble again and face an even bigger mountain in his next fights. But Jake Schilling's proven one thing throughout his career, and that he just keeps coming back, man. He's been here for a freaking decade already. Something tells me that you're not just going to stop him that easily. So that fight's insanely interesting. And man, like you said, there's some seriously high stakes there.
And here's the thing: they're both they're both top level fighters. And they both have losing records at this stage. Jake is 1-2. Eric is 0-1 as a pro. They're both studs. Like, one of these two is going to walk away with a loss, and he's still a stud. Like, that's the craziest part of this game is, what there's going to be a guy that's 0-2 or 1-3 that's an animal. And that's just the way these things roll. But ultimately, like, it's a game of, they say football's a game of inches. MMA is also a game there's such a fine line between, winning a round and losing a round, and then winning a fight and losing a fight, that getting caught. Like, you hear that all the time. Oh, I just got caught, or oh, he got caught. Like, that's a real thing. Like, you get punched just a half an inch in a different direction, and it's the difference between you completely shrugging it off and losing the fight. Like, it's crazy. So, just positioning yourself, and everything's a learning process. My biggest thing is, like, especially for you young guys, for all you, amateur fighters on this card, like, I don't think people spend enough time enjoying the moment and realizing how much fun they're having. Like, if you talk to fighters who fought and had their careers have ended in the Pittsburgh MMA scene back in the early, in the mid teens, like the 2012, 13, 14, 15, something like that, and you ask them, like, what were those days like? Man, I wish I knew how much fun I would like. These were the best days of my life. And I think, like, a lot of you young guys, like, these are going to be the funnest moments of your life. Like, if you talk to, a lot of guys, they're going to tell you, like, just enjoy yourself, enjoy the moment. Like some of these fights you're going to win, some of these fights you're going to lose, but enjoy this stuff, because you're not going to be able to replicate the feeling you're going to get, the moment you get called out, and you just embrace those moments. There's some special moments that'll raise hairs on you, just like Rich was saying. Like, there's a lot of effort put forth to give you those moments, and so enjoy them, like, and embrace them, and like, take a look around. Just look around and enjoy those moments, because it's precious. And if you're in your first or second fight, like, you don't know what life's going to do. You don't know if you're going to have 10 more fights or no more fights. Like, the intentions are all, like, for most people, is to have a bunch of fights, but the reality is most people aren't going to have that many more. So enjoy it. It's going to be, that would be my biggest advice for the young fighters that are on the amateur portion of the card.
Sure.
Embrace
I
it.
love that, man. And it's so true. It's so vital to do. I mean, it's a special thing, especially if you do get to that next level, like you said. If you're a Kama Worthy type, like, the stories that he can share now, and when he can look back and just think about everything he's done, it makes it that much sweeter. Like, if you sit back and really think about it and enjoy it along the way, when you get where you're going, it's going to be that much better for you.
Mhm.
Versus feeling like, well, first of all, you're not going to get to that level without going through it. Like, it's not going to be an act. You don't accidentally make your way to the UFC or something like that. So really, it's not even possible if you're not committed on that level. But when you can sit back and say it was worth it, man, I'm sure Kama would tell you the same thing. Like, well, we'll ask him on Sunday. Like, that's got to be the sweetest feeling, man. When all that was worth it, and you can sit back and be proud of it. And yeah, it's special, man. That's something about MMA that has always drawn me to it. Everything these fighters put their bodies through just to even get to the fight. It's insane when you think about what they go through in a fight camp, the sacrifices they have to make personally, professionally, on literally every level of their life, physically and mentally, just to even get to that cage. Yeah, you like enjoy it on fight night, like Ryan said. Like, make it all worth it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a price to be paid in this sport, and it's not always a great thing. It's just the reality is it's not. And so when you're going through that grind and you're getting like it's the same thing on our end. The fun part is not putting these cards together. It's grueling. It's painful, and I tell people this all the time. Like, the reward is fight night. Enjoy it. Like,
Hmm.
and enjoy yourself. Like, granted, there's work to do and all this stuff, but like, that's the reward. The reward for us, the reward for Hunter, the reward for matchmaking team, the reward for like, the reward is not financial. It's not like, I'm sorry, no one's getting rich doing this. The reward will not be financial for any of us. The reward is fight night. Period.
Hmm. And
Um,
it is special, man.
it,
As much as we talk about, the coaches or my mom or who have you that comes and is impressed, I think it's still that same feeling for me, at least. I'll speak for myself. I'm always like surprised on fight night, like how fun it really is whenever on Sunday you can look back and you're starting to decompress and you're thinking about it. And you're like, man, that was freaking awesome. Like, that was a great night.
Yes, and the weird thing is, I don't know about you, but I'm like super sore. Like, I'm not even the one like putting up the cage and stuff like that. But I am so sore after like weigh-in night and then fight night that I'm like, my body just aches. And then, like I said, I'm obsessed. So then I get home and then I watch it on, like, I watch the production. I watch the usually on fight night, I'll at least start to maybe fall asleep. I have so much. It's so hard for me to go to sleep. I have so much adrenaline like going through me that,
Yeah.
like, I'll just lay in bed if I'm not watching it. So I might as well watch it. Um, but it's something special, and yeah. It, so April 16th, there's been a ton of work put in on our side. There's been a ton of training and preparation and, weight cutting and doing all those things on the fighter side to put on a spectacle of an event called Brawl in the Berg 11. Tickets are available now at 247fighting.com. You can buy tickets from your favorite fighter in person if they've, you know, gotten tickets consigned to them, or you can go on to the website and you can claim your favorite fighter, and they will get a commission on those tickets sold. So you can do that both online. Also, we partner with, this is another thing I wanted to say, we partner with VetTix. We donate $1,500 every show for their people to be able to attend. It does not fill the needs. So we are now accepting donations to, be able to have more veterans attend our shows. So we love having veterans at our shows, those that have served our country. And so if you have a passion for that, you have the ability to donate $50 to let someone that served our country and buy them a seat. So
Yep.
lots of
No,
cool
that's
stuff.
awesome, man. Yeah. So on the screen, I just wanted to pull up the drop down. This is where you select your fighter to support. So that's that functionality for you guys. It's awesome, man. Like you said, the veteran donations are awesome. Supporting fighters, obviously awesome. You can also do that on the pay-per-view. So if you can't come to the show and want to order the pay-per-view, you can also select the fighter you're supporting on pay-per-view, and they get a cut of that as well. So we really do, we try to support fighters as much as possible and stay ethical with it, Ryan.
I mean, just the ethical part,
It's very important. So Timbo saying respect, fellas. Real cool. Tons of respect for that. Yeah, man. The veterans are something that I came into for sure. This was, important to Ryan, and I'm more than happy to carry that on because like you said, got respect for the veterans, got respect for the fighters. None of this happens without everybody sacrificing something. So it's awesome, man. It's cool to be a part of this. And April 16th, 8 days from now, Monroeville Convention Center. Get those tickets, guys. The next one, we always, like Ryan said it earlier, good enough is not in the vocabulary. So as good as BitB11 was in February, the show was amazing. Our first thought was, let's do it better next time.
What
So
can
that's
we improve on? We have meetings every show. What can we improve on? What are the areas that we want to give attention to? And so, we're constantly and listen, if you were at a show and you're like, hey, this would be better, shoot us an email, info@247fighting.com. Message us on our Facebook, Instagram, whatever. We're super responsive. Like, you'll probably have someone get back to you within like 6 or 8 weeks. So no, I'm just kidding. Probably
we actually handwrite our responses and mail you a letter. So we like that personal touch.
We put it in a bottle, and like when you get it, you get it.
Just toss it your way. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for joining another edition of the Pittsburgh Combat Sports Podcast. Like Ryan said, we will go live Sunday night around 5:30 with Kama Worthy on the show, and sounds like he's ready to get some stuff off his chest, to say the least. So it sounds like he's going to be on fire. That's one you guys can't miss. It's going to be a fun time, man. For now, we will see you then. We'll see you Sunday, and then it's fight week. So stay tuned. Like I said, our Facebook page every day, we're going to post a full fight for you guys to enjoy. Some days I might post 2. Who knows? You're going to have to follow us and stay tuned and get excited for the card. I might do it, Ryan. I might just post them.
You might.
But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you Sunday, and then it's fight week. Let's go.
Keep it ethical.
You better.